He's being asked the question rather a lot, Eidur, manager of your former club. Is he a man under pressure in your eyes, particularly this week?
Yes, he has to be. I think when you're manager of Chelsea, you're always going to be under pressure, but he's under slightly more pressure than he would like to be, I think.
Why is that?
Because recent results haven't been good enough, and performances haven't been good enough. Yes, they got the win last week. I think these next 10 days will tell a lot about his future, I think.
How do you view Chelsea right now and where they're at, Matt?
I think they're just doing OK. I thought they were going about their business quite quietly at the start of the season. All the focus was on Manchester City, Manchester United. You know, they were the reigning Premier League champions and kind of started a little bit under the radar and were hanging in there. Bar Manchester City, nobody got near them. But of late, they've started to, have a real sticky period. You see glimpses of Chelsea doing something or good form, but nothing consistent. And you just feel that there needs to be more than that at that football club. And it is a massive week. It's a massive couple of games coming up for him.
So if they're doing OK, is OK good enough for Chelsea?
No, I don't think so. I think the Chelsea of recent years have always set a standard of need to be at least challenging for the Premier League. And I don't think they are. Well, they're not in the running anymore. So the focus goes on staying in the top four and going as far as you can in the Champions League. And with that comes pressure, because you're not sitting too nicely in the Premier League either. That makes these Champions League games even bigger.
Well, we could talk about Manchester City being exceptional, as we already have done tonight, but that still doesn't explain why Chelsea have fallen behind second and third place, Manchester United and Liverpool right now, and Spurs as well. What's your theory on that?
Well, I don't think they went into the season with a strong enough squad to be coping with Champions League, Premier League, and then the two cups. Obviously, you can play, mix your team up a little bit in the early stages of the cup, but I don't think they recruited enough quality to be competing on all fronts.
Don't you find it strange that he went in with just one striker, with the way they play? I find that they've really kind of limped along until January before they've got another centre forward in, because I think they're so pivotal to the way they play in that role with the two, with Hazard off the front, or even the Pedro and Hazard off a centre forward. I just found that for his first season in the Premier League, it's a lot to ask of Morata to step up and play every game. European matches, you've got other cup games in there. I just found that was a real problem for Chelsea.
Yeah, but it was a problem maybe because you had I had the feeling that Conte wasn't too sure about Batshuayi, what he had.
Definitely not.
So all of a sudden, Morata's your only striker and you're very reliant on him. Didn't have confidence in Batshuayi, so you're starting to play Hazard as a sort of a hanging striker or second, sort of a false number 9, which changes the dynamics of the team a little bit. So consistency is difficult when the dynamics change and you don't have your focal point to get the motor running, so to speak. Nothing seems to become automatic for Chelsea.
Yeah.
They always need to grind out a result because of the quality that they have of the individual players. I don't feel that you can spot exactly, week in, week out, how Chelsea will play.
But it's almost like that they knew that was coming. They had won the Premier League, but with no European football. So you have the luxury of playing that same starting 11 there or thereabouts, bar some injuries, nearly every week. I just feel that then preparing for that season with the Champions League, and if you want to go and win the Premier League again and you want to go find the Champions League, just to go into that with that one player it was his first season in England, just seems crazy to me.
Who would you go with tomorrow night, Giroud or Morata, if both are fit?
If both are fit, I think I would go for Morata, purely because of the movement he can create in behind Barcelona. Giroud would be a perfect option if you need something different in later stages in the game, but I still go for Morata.
Giroud, just to be different. Got to have a debate.
It's called the debate.
No. I would go with Giroud just because of his physicality. I think he's a bit more physical, and I don't think he's not a goal threat as much as Morata to score, but I just think he can maybe link and bring other players into the game around the edge of the box really well, and that could be a threat.
Yeah, but will Chelsea be playing round the edge of the box, or will they be sitting back on the counter-attack? And you've got Kante breaking up the play, hopefully, and what do you need then? You need someone to go into the space. That's just my feeling.
No, absolutely, but you know there'll be other players. Giroud, OK, he's not the most mobile. He'll want the ball into his feet a bit more. I agree with that, but I think it's an option for Chelsea if he's going to play Willian, Hazard. I think they play really well off a striker in that area around the edge of the box, 25 yards out, bouncing the ball into him. I think he's got the physicality to get hold of it and maybe be something different for Barcelona to have to cope with.
Who are favourites?
Wow. If you look at the league form, it would have to be Barcelona, but I'm not convinced, because I'm not convinced that Barca have come up against a team like Chelsea. I think Chelsea can cause troubles for them, especially the way they play, the way they're set up. I think if they use their fullbacks well, they could cause problems. Barcelona's wide men do leave a lot of space because they don't like tracking back too much. And we see Messi's stats, even though his goals are right up there, his running stats are going the other way. So there might be some space for the fullbacks of Chelsea to come up the pitch, and that's maybe when you'd have a Giroud in there, you know, to get the crosses in early. But
Changing your mind?
Yeah. Just after I spoke about the fullbacks. No, I'm not. I'm still sticking to Morata because I honestly think this game might suit Chelsea well, because it's not a game that they have to dominate, and because they have so much. They have speed going forward. They have Hazard who can do things, you know, create something out of nothing. They have Willian who feeds off Hazard. You know, they feed very well off each other.
I just hope Willian's in the team.
I hope so.
I really hope Willian's. I think that's a key one for me. Just after his performance on Friday, it was, and I just hope that he starts the game.
Do you think we are seeing Hazard at his best right now, or this season?
I'm not sure. No, I don't think we're seeing it at his absolute best.
Do you think this is the type of game with which it's safe for us, or it's fair for us to draw comparisons between Hazard and Messi on the other side?
It's not fair. It's not fair to anyone, because Messi is the best of all time.
Has Eden Hazard got any chance of reaching those heights, do you think, in his career?
Well, he'd have to start scoring a lot of goals, I think. Hazard has got tremendous ability, and for me, he's still the best player in the Premier League, or the player with the most quality. But to compare him with Messi or even Ronaldo, it's not fair to him, because I think those two have set a standard that will be very difficult for anyone to catch up to in the future. But he'd probably be in that bracket just underneath those two.
I think given how Chelsea are playing at the moment, I think it's also a little bit unfair to say, are we seeing the best of him? Because I think, you know, there comes a moment to get the best out of yourself in that position. I think the team has to be at its best as well. And Chelsea aren't at the moment. So for me, I think he's producing as good as what maybe he can. I think there's flashes of, you know, the best of Hazard. But in order for him to be at his best all the time, I think the team have to be functioning better than what they have been.
Always talk, Eidur, I don't know if you are aware of this, flitting between your homes, about his future, Eden Hazard. Is he going to stay at Chelsea? Is he going here? Is he going there? Do you think he is the kind of person that will see his career through at Stamford Bridge?
Till the end? No. But that's just me speculating. I've only met him on a couple of occasions, said hello, and that's it. So I don't know him personally. Just I think that he would see himself going to one of the big two in Spain, and more likely Madrid than Barcelona.
So would he, in his mind, be thinking about this game as a platform, perhaps?
No, not that either. I think he is fully focused on where he is at the moment. I've got no doubts about that. I just think he wants to, like anyone playing against Barcelona or in the Champions League, you just want to be at your best and you want to show everyone, you know, that you should be considered as one of the best around.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that, you know, those games are obviously an opportunity for you to personally want to perform well, but it's about, you know, the team going through.
Did you ever do that knowingly yourself? Think, this is a big game, I've got to up my game, because you never know who's watching.
Of course. You would have thought of that, or, you know, you might be playing against a team that you had aspirations to play for one day, possibly. You know, of course, from your personal point in your career, you know, to not think like that, you'd be lying. I think this is in your mind, but your first priority is that you play well because you want to do a good job for your team. You know, obviously there's an individual benefit for that, but also you're part of a team, and it's a great feeling to be on the winning side in a team, on a game, on any game. So it's a huge part of it, but I agree with Eidur. I think you spend a certain amount of time at a club, sometimes it's time to move on. He's been there, how long has he been there now? At Chelsea, how many seasons he had at Chelsea?
5, 6,
5.
Fifth.
Yeah,
Fifth,
5, 6. So, you know, he's done a long period in there, and sometimes that change, you might need a change in your career.
Well, they're up against a Barcelona side who actually been very stubborn defensively this season in both League and Champions League. They've been training this evening at Stamford Bridge. Ernesto Valverde's certainly got them sorted out at the back, just conceded 1 goal in the Champions League, and that in itself was a consolation goal for Olympiacos when they're already 3-0 down in the Nou Camp. Only Atletico Madrid have conceded fewer in La Liga. Does that tell us something, Eidur, about this Barcelona team evolving, perhaps?
Well, conceding less goals, yes. Maybe not taking as many risks going forward. But it's still, you see the way they play, it's still the Barcelona. The philosophy doesn't change. They are always a team that dominates possession, that dominates the ball. They're very quick in transition. Maybe slightly further back defensively than under a Guardiola, for example, or in recent years. But all in all, it's always Barcelona.
Do we think that they are still favourites? I mean, a lot of people talking about Manchester City as favourites of the Champions League, but going back to what Eidur was saying earlier about the experience of having been there and won these big games.
I would have to say that they probably are favourite. It's very difficult to tell because they have that aura about them of the history, having done it so many times, and their league form. You know, they're flying a little bit under the radar in terms of being talked about, but their league form's, you know, fantastic. Probably never been much better. So when you look at it like that, you know, for me, I don't see why you wouldn't call them favourites.